This is a quick little video showing you the power of having a good setup. I recently bought a much more powerful soldering iron. It's a soldering iron and a hot air rework station combined all in one. It's by Xtronic. It works pretty well. I'm pretty satisfied by it. And you can get anything you want, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You just got to make sure that it gets hot and it's fairly accurate. There's a lot of good cheap options. Weller is well known for having a nice cheap iron. So just to take a look, on the right side you have Flux, and this is stuff that I started using fairly recently, and it really makes a difference when you're soldering. You want to have a hot iron, and you want to be on the job for a minimal amount of time. If you have a colder iron and then you're holding it to the pad and it's just not working, it's not melting the solder isn't flowing, it's because you have a cold iron, or it's too cheap. It can't do those hotter temperatures. I'm working in like the 600 and above range, 600 Fahrenheit and higher. And if you don't have Flux, you can see the difference. So on the right hand side is a really shitty job that I did on a board, and I didn't use Flux. On the left hand side I did use Flux, and I also used header pins, so I just chopped them up however many I needed and I soldered them on the back. So let's take a look at that. Immediately you can see the advantages of having Flux. On the right hand side I just used the solder, and I had a hot iron and I was doing a decent job, but it just would not flow. It would just not flow. It looks a lot worse on camera than it really is. I mean, that's not melted, that's just a bunch of, I mean, that's just a mess. That's a train wreck right there on the right side. So I'm going to be completely redoing this and putting it into the helmet. This was a very good learning experience, but you can see, like, you can see I couldn't even get the pins on you see on the right side. I couldn't even get those to solder correctly, and the reason for that is I just wasn't doing it the right way. So this one on the left hand side is a more recent one, and this is actually for the skull face, but you can immediately see the difference that the Flux makes. And I just take like a screwdriver, you could take like a paintbrush or whatever and just, you know, put it on, or you can get the nice liquid ones and you can squeeze those on. You don't need a whole lot, and it does make everything just flow where it's supposed to go, and it prevents your boards from getting melted. These are pretty high quality boards. These are made by Electro Cookie, but there's several different iterations out there on the market. Highly recommend it. Very well made. In terms of solder, they're pretty much all the same. You can see how much Flux is in this one. It says it has more Flux in it, but it actually performs worse than the one that I got years ago in a knockoff of a Hakko brand eBay soldering iron. It was a fake Hakko, and I knew it, and I got reimbursed for it, and they let me keep it because they knew that I knew. I proved how I knew that it was fake. So that solder that they provided that had no label on it performed better, and it had the same amount of Flux. It was the same size, everything. That solder performed better than this one that I found on Amazon, but you know, whatever. It gets the job done. I've tested this board out. It works. The one on the right does not work, and just you can see for yourself. So definitely pick up some Flux. There's different kinds of Flux. It looks different. Get something that's non-corrosive, non-toxic, and if you leave it on metal pieces, like if you leave it on a screwdriver, it's gonna look brown, but it just comes right off if you wipe it off. So try not to leave it on anything, and when you're done soldering, you can just wipe it up. You can wipe it up, or you can leave it on. I just leave it on. You can see it's a little bit left over. You can use alcohol and Q-tips, but I mean, do you really want to do that? Most of these are just concept builds anyway, so you don't really need to spend too much time doing that. So that's what I wanted to let you all know. Stay grounded.